Hello and welcome to this week's IG Live. Today we are going to be interviewing Katie, who is the author of the Mighty Mila stories, and her latest book in the series about Mighty Mila. It's a children's book series. It is now on Kickstarter, so you can support that. It's gotten a lot of attention. It was chosen by Kickstarter as a project we love, and it's also already been funded. So this is a great way to jump in, and they have a lot of perks if you are supporting it. September is Deaf Awareness Month, and so this is a great time to support these stories. The Mighty Mila stories are increasing representation of children with hearing loss in children's literature. And so what makes this series so unique is that while there are some books available about children with hearing loss, they usually are focusing on the medical aspects, learning about hearing loss itself. And this one is unique because that's not the focus of the story. They're just really fun stories that kids can relate to. Hold on just a minute. It just happens that the main character has hearing loss. And so we're going to be talking about how these books are helping change people's hearts and minds. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Well, I was just talking a little bit about the Mighty Mila series, but maybe you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me. I'm Katie Petruzziello, so I am the author of the Mighty Mila series, which is a really fun, inclusive book about a little girl who is unstoppable, feisty, imaginative, and she also happens to be deaf and uses cochlear implants. And it's inspired by my daughter, Mila. And I actually have two deaf and hard of hearing daughters. And the whole purpose of the book series is really to get more awareness, out into the world of children's literature with deaf main characters, and just to really help spread love and kindness and just more inclusion to kind of everyone. So yeah, I'm excited to be here to tell you more about the book and everything today.
Yes, and so exciting to have you here, and especially as I was saying, the book is doing so well on Kickstarter. But as you mentioned, the main character, Mila, she is deaf. She has hearing loss, but it's not the main focus of the book. Why is it so important for kids like her to see themselves as the lead characters in stories that aren't necessarily all about their disability?
Yeah, so I created this book specifically to not make her hearing the focus of the story, because I think it's really important for children to be able to see themselves as a whole person in a book. And there are definitely the need for books that are focused on a difference or a disability, and about like a character potentially getting their hearing aids or getting their cochlear implants or going to the audiologist. And those are really great. And those books helped me to explain to Mila kind of at a point in time when she had lost all of her hearing and she was going to get cochlear implants. She was 3 years old, right? Like, she learned about what was going to happen through children's books. So they're really important. But then there also needs to be just fun books where there's a kid that has a disability or a difference. And sure, it's part of what makes them who they are, but it's not the sole focus of the story. So both Mighty Mila and now the second book that's just launched, Mighty Mila Dream Job, are fun stories in and of themselves. Mighty Mila is all about a little girl, Mila, who wants to prove that she's a big kid and she can do anything and everything that she sets her mind to, all by herself. And it's all about her learning along the way that she needs to ask for help from those that she loves, and a little bit about advocacy and stuff like that, right? But through a fun story. And there's her cochlear implants are touched upon in the story. Like, she wants to prove that she can find her brother Luca playing hide and seek without anybody's help, so she needs to focus on like where sounds are coming from, because it's a little trickier for her with her cochlear implants. But it's kind of like woven subtly throughout the story, where it's not the focus, it's just another kind of aspect of what makes her how she is. And then Mighty Mila Dream Job is about Mila exploring what she wants to be when she grows up for career day. And her imagining what it would be like to be tons of different things in only the way that little kids can imagine, right? Like putting her imagination into it. And she doesn't want to just be a vet. She wants to be a vet, but only for magical creatures like dragons and unicorns, right? Or she wants to be an engineer, but like not any old engineer, an engineer that only builds castles, right? So like it's all about that. And it explores topics like she wants to be not just a dancer, she wants to be a rock star ballerina. But it's a little trickier for her to hear music because she wears cochlear implants and music sounds different for her than it does for people with typical hearing. So again, like woven throughout, but the main point of the story is believing in yourself, celebrating the things that make you different, and really kind of dreaming big and knowing that you can be anything and everything you dream of. So they're fun stories for all kids, but with the specific focus of helping to really like empower those children that are deaf or hard of hearing through a story where they are shown as a full normal kid that just happens to, in Mila's case, hear differently, right? So, and then it's also something where typical hearing children still would enjoy the story so much that they want to read it and then learn about it, because I think it's a little bit more of a stretch for kids to pick up a book that's medically focused about a difference or a disability that they don't relate to, and then they don't learn about it because they don't necessarily want to read something that's not like fun to read, right? But if you incorporate those aspects into just a fun story, then they'll learn along the way also, and just be more empathetic and kind to others when they meet them in real life.
Yeah, can you talk about that a little bit more? Why is it important? I mean, of course, it's important for the kids who have the hearing loss to have access to these books, but what difference does it make when these books are included in a classroom or a library? How can that really help open up conversations and, like you said, help them have more empathy?
Yeah, and so it's interesting because like most kids, part of their daily routine is to read books at some point, whether it's during school or maybe at bedtime or whatever, right? So it's really helpful for kids to be able to not just see themselves in a book, but also see people or individuals that are different from them. Because when you read about someone that's different from you, maybe you have typical hearing and you're reading about a child that's deaf, cochlear implants in this case, right? And you do it in kind of the comfort of your own home or in your school or in your library. It gives you that opportunity to ask questions of your parents or of the educator, so you can feel a little bit more comfortable asking some of those tricky questions that maybe you wouldn't, a child maybe, although kids ask everything, but like maybe a kid wouldn't ask someone like in real life that they come upon. So it gives them a kind of a safe spot to explore a different person or a different world or a different circumstance from the safety of their own home or their library or school, and helps them to better work through those kind of feelings and emotions and questions, so that when they encounter that individual, maybe it's someone in a wheelchair, maybe it's someone with a prosthetic limb, maybe someone with cochlear implants in real life, it's not as foreign to them because, oh, it's just like my character in my book, Mighty Mila, that I love. Like, I know what a cochlear implant is, right? And so I think that it's a really nice, safe learning space to, in your own home or in your school, to like incorporate those types of learnings, so that you can approach the real life situation with a little bit more empathy, I guess, and kind of kindness towards individuals that are different from you.
Right. And I'm curious. So you had this vision because we can see how important it is for people to have this book. And I know you said before that when Mila was really young, you couldn't find a book like this that wasn't medically focused. That was just a fun story where the lead character happened to have hearing loss. So when you had this idea, how did you go from having it to where you are now? Because I think a lot of people struggle with that, as maybe they have this great idea, something they want to do, but then either they're not sure, they don't have that motivation or that faith that they can make it a reality. So what was that process like for you?
Yeah. Well, it was a long process because, I have my corporate job during the day and I have three kids and just life. There's a lot going on. So I think I just knew that I had to take it kind of slowly, and I still spent like a lot of time on it, just researching, getting part of different author groups on like Facebook and other places. I joined a great author work group for that was like a 12-week program with other newer authors that we asked questions. We had someone that was very, very good to kind of help guide us through the process. So I just kind of dove into like learning about it. And honestly, if it wasn't for the sole purpose of helping my kid, my daughter, at that time, my youngest didn't have hearing loss, so I just had Mila that had hearing loss. Sophia, who was 4 years old, just got identified with hearing loss a couple months ago. So this is right back in this journey again for us. But like, if I didn't have this mission behind it, I never would have went through like all the effort to do this. Like, I think it was the passion and the mission, and kind of like, as cheesy as it sounds, like the labor of love, like that, like just fueled me to figure out what needs to happen, because I didn't know, I didn't, I didn't know anything to start with. So I was still figuring things out. Like, I was still learning along the way where I can. And it took me 2 years to get Mighty Mila out. And then it took me another 2 years to get Mighty Mila Dream Job out. Like, it could have been out in a year, but we moved, did renovations. So I had to prioritize certain things. But I knew I wanted to try to just get it out like as quickly as I can, but keeping some sanity, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I love that what's really driving you, like you said, is you have this mission that you wanted to get these books out for your kids and other kids that are like them. And that was what got you through this, because I know it can be a really difficult process, especially you have so much else going on at the same time. And now you're having the Kickstarter for your second book. So tell us a little bit about that and how people can get involved if they want to support it.
Yeah, so I'm launching through Kickstarter with the second book. I launched it on the 19th, so a little over a week ago now. And with the way Kickstarter works is you create a funding goal, and it's for a specific purpose. So for me, I was looking to raise $14,000 to print 2,000 hardcover books. And it's not like a donation type, like, it's not like GoFundMe or anything. It's basically like a pre-order system. So people go in and they choose certain packages. Do they want one book? Do they want 3 books? Do they want the book in the tote bag? I have all this fun merchandise that's only available through the Kickstarter, where you can choose kind of your tier, and like, it's called a package or a tier or whatever. But basically it's like, what do I want? How many books do I want? Or how many like tote bags or stickers or whatever? And then that amount goes towards the funding goal. And I was able to hit the funding goal in less than 3 days, which was great. So now we're working towards what they call a stretch goal, which essentially, like, once you hit your funding goal, you set like another incremental goal. And if you hit that, everybody gets like, there's rewards. Mm-hmm. So the goal, I'm $500 away from hitting $16,000 at this point in time. And if I hit that 16,000, I said I would donate 25 books to hearing loss organizations and schools. And then for every $200 above that, I'll donate another book. And then I'll set another goal, and it'll probably be some kind of freebie for everybody that got a package. So it's fun. Like, it's fun. It's like a fun crowd mentality in helping a creator. So in my case, me creating this book, to get this kind of project out into the world. So yeah, so the more I'm able to raise, the more books I can print, and the more hands I can get them into, which is very exciting.
And I'm glad you mentioned about the fact that there's some parts of it that are only available in Kickstarter, because there might be people watching think, oh, well, it's already funded. I'll just wait and order the book when it comes out. But if you do it during this time, I mean, one, you're supporting, like, you're donating books to these organizations, and you get this merchandise and swag that is not going to be available later. So it is really important. And plus, I think if you really want to support the creator, to get this burst of funding at this stage is really important, as opposed to just ordering it later. Of course, the book will be available later, but if you take advantage of it now, there's a lot of perks to doing that, right?
That's right. Yeah. So the items actually, they will not be available like afterwards, just for various reasons. I have to do it in this bulk amount. Like, I have to get the orders in, so I can order tote bags in bulk in order to make it, cost effective. So I'm not losing money. So yeah, so that's true. And so I also didn't mention, which is silly me again, like, that the site you go to is www.mightymiladreamjob.com, and that will bring you right to the Kickstarter. Or you can go on the Kickstarter page and just search for Mighty Mila Dream Job, and you'll see it. But yeah, so it's a great way of creating like a lot of energy at the beginning of a book's launch. to really help also give it like social proof too, like to help. The better you do on a Kickstarter, the more the platform Kickstarter shows it to other people. So it is important, you know, it is important to kind of channel it all into like that launch. And you're right, like it'll be available afterwards, but you know, this is for like the first edition book. I'll be signing them all and stuff like that. So there's definitely perks for getting in early.
Wow, that's really special. I didn't realize that they were going to be signed books. I mean, like you said, and to be able, if you really want to support the creator, this is really the way to do it. A lot of perks for us as participants also, because I feel like when people do well on Kickstarter, then you hear about that later. Even when the book comes out later, you know, it like you said, it has that social proof that you can say, look how much support there is. That, you know, it was chosen by Kickstarter as a project we love.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, I got that for this too. Yeah, they awarded me with the Project We Love badge a about a day into the Kickstarter. So that was nice. That was nice to see, because then they showed on their platform more to individuals as well. So it's fun. I mean, it was a lot of work. It's a lot of stress, but it's good. It's a nice way for me to be able to like understand up front how many books to order and be able to get those funds, so that, because printing is so expensive right now, like just even compared to when I did Mighty Mila a couple of years ago, when I did the initial print run of that, it's almost double. Like it's 150%, like almost, you know, it's a lot more, just because of shortages, supply chain, just a lot of stuff going on. And so I knew I wanted to print through, like there's different ways you can print, like print on demand through Amazon and other companies like that, or like a nice hardcover. And I got a few of them, like a small number made, like, so, but like it's so nice with like the silver foil, and like the paper is nice and the colors are good. So I just really like, you know, you spend so much time creating this like little like book baby, right? And you want it to come out, you know, high quality. And so but it's a lot of cost up front. So Kickstarter is a great way to kind of get the pre-orders in, get the funds, print them, and then be able to just get everybody their rewards.
And what, I mean, because it has been so successful and it's gotten all this attention from Kickstarter, what do you think accounts for the support that you've been given? Is there anything that has surprised you about some of the feedback you've gotten?
People are so nice. Like I'm really like, very appreciative of everybody that follows. Like, you know, it's a lot of social media, and there's a lot of people to say about social media, but I feel like it's such a nice community, and it's helped me get to know so many individuals, both in the deaf, hard of hearing community, or educators, or just, you know, friends and neighbors, or people in my home community that, you know, it helps you get to know what's going on. So the love and support that I hear from people messaging me and saying like encouragement, encouraging you to do it, it's really heartwarming. And yeah, it's been a very nice response from a lot of people. And then you'll get like the random Kickstarter like order for like $500 from someone that you've never met or have no idea who it is, and it's like, who's this person, you know, like it's incredible, you know. So it's not like those things like shock you too. It's just like someone that's been like watching in the wings, and you don't know them, and they're just like hugely supportive of what you're doing. And that's where it's like, all right, like this is great. It's not, you know, like love all my friends and family and everybody like for supporting, but then it's like these people that I don't know, where you're like, okay, like this actually really does have an impact broader than just like my social circle, right? And you get messages from people saying like, we live in Tennessee and my son just used this book to explain, like the first book, to explain to his classmates about his hearing loss. Like, thank you so much. He didn't, like, he was so nervous about doing it, but I read the book and then he was able to talk about it. Or like somebody else getting in touch with me that saying like, my daughter loves a character so much that when she had her little sister, we let her choose the middle name and she chose Sophia, which is a character from your book. Like, it was like, whoa, you know? So things like that you like never expect. So it's been a roller coaster with so many unexpected highs, and there's been challenges too that have had to be overcome. Like, you know, I've had a bookstore tell me that they didn't want to carry the book because no one wants to buy a book with kids that clearly have cochlear implants, like rough stuff like that I've had to overcome. But you get through it, and it's all the positives are way outweigh like the negatives.
Well, and remind us again what the website is that if people who want to go support the Kickstarter.
Yeah, it's mightymiladreamjob.com.
And then just to finish up, you know, because September is Deaf Awareness Month, and you're doing a lot to kind of help people overcome these misconceptions and really to normalize kids who have different disabilities. What are some of the common misconceptions that you hear or feedback? I mean, one, you just kind of shared that the bookstore thought that kids wouldn't be interested if the main character had hearing loss. What are some of the other misconceptions that you hope to dispel with these books?
I mean, not even just the books. I mean, when you talk about just deaf awareness in general, like that's a huge topic, right? And I think one of the really important things to keep in mind, like, is that every person is different, and that goes for deaf individuals or people that identify as being deaf. And I think it's really important to take out into the world the understanding that even if you know maybe Mila's story or know how Mila identifies as being deaf, that doesn't mean that that's how the next person that's deaf is going to be. And every person is an individual. There's so many different preferences in terms of like terminology. Do you consider yourself hard of hearing? Do you consider yourself deaf? Communication methods, right? Like Mila uses cochlear implants. We're about to start learning some sign language, but there's individuals that solely use sign as communication. There's people that use hearing aids and sign, or Bajas, or there's so many different ways that someone can be deaf. And I think it's really important to understand about the individual and their preference, and their accessibility needs, and accommodations that they may need in order to kind of really flourish in this world. And so it's just important, like you can learn Mila's like perspective and everything just from following me on Instagram, but it's important to follow other people because there's so many different, there's no right answer, wrong answer. There's just a lot of different ways there are of individuals that are deaf. And so I think it's from a deaf awareness perspective, it's important to follow a lot of different people, follow people that only sign, follow people that use listening spoken language, follow individuals, whatever it may be, right? So I think that that's kind of one of the most important things that I could say is that if you met one deaf person, you've just met one deaf person. There's a lot of different ways of being deaf. And I am coming at this from an approach of being a typical hearing individual. So it's always best to learn about deaf people from a deaf person, but you know, I will do what I can to help my daughter and others as an advocate.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for your books. I mean, they're wonderful, and like we said, anybody can go and support it right now on Kickstarter, which is a great way to support you and to get a lot of extra perks for yourself. And again, the website was mightymiladreamjob.com.
Yep, that's right.
All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. And joining us late, we'll have this up on Instagram in just a few minutes and later on our YouTube channel. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's great to see you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.